Hi everybody, this is Lisa from Knit Cheap Yarns, the happy little yarn store in Mount Laurel. Hey, so I'm gonna jump right into it today. I have a lot of whips. That's actually my natural state of being, having a lot of whips that I try to get a little stitching onto. Actually, I'm gonna have to make a plan to really uh, make sure and work on everything that needs working so I can stay current. But things are going pretty well on my lace project. Now I finished 2 of these strips to finish off the arm. These I think have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. These will have 14 points on them. I said 11 last time, but I was dead wrong about that. They have 14 points. And I have another one somewhere because I have already started on the lace that's going to go across the hem. So I'm gonna make it in pieces. I'm not gonna try to make one long piece that goes completely around because that's not even how the blouse was originally done. There's a split hem, and that will allow me to just go from the front split to the right side of from the right side of the front split to the back to the left side of the front split, and the same on the back side. The only thing I'm wondering is, am I gonna do a double row along the hem? So I'm gonna put on the initial row first and see how I like the look, and if I don't like it, I'll knit another strip so I can have a double row along the hem too. And actually this is the last of my first skein of linen. The linen I'm using is Lino by BC Garn. It comes in nice little balls like this that you don't need to rewind. I was able to use this when I got down to the very end. I wound it into a butterfly, and this might be, I don't know, maybe 2 yards, maybe 3 yards left, and it was just not a problem at all. And I found that if I kept it in my little bowl, I had absolutely no problem with the ball holding its shape because the bowl was really holding it for me. So Lino is 100% linen, and each ball has about 130 or so yards on it. Let me see. Actually, no, it's 150 meters. Meters are bigger, so it's more than 150 yards. I think I looked it up before. It might be 167 if I'm not mistaken. And its suggested needle sizes are 3 to 4 millimeters, but I'm actually working it on a US 1. Yeah, 2.25 millimeters. This is a carbon straight needle. I love it because it has a nice flexible body. It's not like squishy or anything, but since I tend to hold it rather tightly, I find that little bit of give that it has very, very comfortable. And it has a nice metal tip, which I also like. So what's going on with this is that it's pretty easy knitting, but I had started it on larger needles and it just didn't show the design of the lace well enough. Everything was just way too open. So I worked it again and again, going down needle sizes until I really liked the look of the lace. So now it's really nicely defined, and you can see what the pattern really looks like against that background of garter stitch. Because even my garter stitch was looking really open on the bigger needles. I probably could have gone down to zeros, but I think this is good. This is actually working for me. Of course I dropped it, so there we go. And so far the The first ball got me, let's see, about 60 inches of lace because each of the arm panels is about 15 inches long, and I have 4 of them. So that's not bad actually. I thought it went a good ways. So that's my lace project. Poor Helen. That pattern is actually called Oh Helen, but I'm calling it Poor Helen because I haven't put another stitch on her. I'm gonna devote some time to this because I actually really like this. I like how this yarn works. It feels just heavenly on my neck. It's a superwash merino and nylon, and I like the colors. I love the way they just kind of run and flash along this mesh. I'll be putting some good pictures up in the video so you guys can really see what this looks like, but I really like it. Every time, it's really sad because every time I pick it up I'm like, oh, I really like how this feels, but I just haven't gotten back to it. But I'm committing to putting at least a few inches on it over the course of the next week or two. Hey, at least I found it, right? My lace pattern, as you guys know, comes from the Japanese Knitting Stitch Bible. I believe it's number 244. I've had this book for a while, but I was a little intimidated by it. I'm really glad I went to it and looked through it for a stitch pattern because I was really not happy with some of my other stitch dictionaries. I just, sometimes you're looking through, you just don't see something you like. And when I first saw this, I was like, yes, that's the one. If you have a copy of this book, it's actually number 244. Here it is in the book. But when I saw it, it had everything I was looking for. It had some openness to it, but it had a definite structure, and I was really looking for a lace with points on it. I really wanted points for no reason I can really tell you. And I went ahead and I picked the pattern I'm going to use for my twisted stripes sock. It is the Geek Socks. Let me see. I have notes, so let me actually go ahead and refer to them. I'm making the Geek Socks by Wei S. Leong. I will put a picture of them in here. I thought it would be really fun to do a self-striping sock, but I've done many a self-striping sock, and as amusing as it is to watch the stripes change color, I thought it would be fun to do something a little bit interesting with them. Twist up those stripes some kind of way. So I'm going to be using a Uneek sock kit. What is actually unique about this is that you get 2 pre-wound balls that they've already matched up the colors for you. As always, you can either choose to work from the inside or the outside, but here you go. 2 50-gram balls that, whether you work it from the inside or the outside, you're going to get a pair of socks that match. So I thought it would be super fun to have socks where the stripes match, and I've done something a little bit funny on top of it, on top of that, to play with the stripes a little. So the pattern I chose has a slip stitch texture on it. Ooh, ooh, ooh. My needles are trying to get away from me. You'll never escape. The other neat thing about these sock kits that I forgot to mention was that if you look on the box, there is a code for a free pattern that will work perfectly with these socks. I think that's pretty neat. Also, the company is kind of socially responsible, and I like that. what they do is every time you buy a skein of their yarn, they plant a tree. And I think that's really cool, especially in these times of climate change. So, getting to the Geek Socks pattern. The Geek Socks, and I will do a better screen share for you here because I realize now you cannot see this. It's a nitty.com pattern. So it's a free pattern. And I thought it was really interesting because the designer said that she was inspired by a colorwork pattern and she decided to just give it a try in yarn that was going to stripe. So instead of doing any colorwork, you're just kind of reordering the stitches by using slip stitches. So there is a small chart, but it's only, and it's a free pattern, so I'm not giving away any secret sauce. There's a small chart. It is only 4 stitches across. That's the entire thing that you're doing to rejigger the stripes. And I really liked how it almost looks like little waves that you're making in the yarn. So I think that's a lot of fun. Now these are cuff down socks. Now that's a kind of change of pace for me because I'm a dedicated toe up sock knitter. So I'm going to step outside of my comfort zone a little bit just by making my socks top down instead of toe up. She calls for an afterthought heel. So I'll be doing an afterthought heel. Now she calls for the afterthought heel so you don't break up your waving pattern. Anything else that you might need to look out for? Oh, and this pattern is sized. So let me see. It calls for, you can cast on 64, 68, 72, or 76 stitches, which is really perfect for me. Normally, I always have to resize my socks anyway because I have large feet, but 72 stitches will be perfectly fine for me. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking because there's slip stitch patterning in here and that's going to affect the stretchiness of the sock, I might actually do the 76 stitch pattern instead. I might follow the 76 stitch pattern just because these socks won't stretch as much as normally knit socks will. So that might be something you want to consider. I'm going to work a little swatch and just see how the slip stitch patterning affects the fabric, and then I'll decide whether to go with my usual 72 stitches or go upsize to the 76 stitches. Yeah, I think that is it for what's going on with this sock. Yeah, and you can pretty much do whatever heel you like. I will probably end up doing the Fish Lips Kiss heel because it's my favorite heel. But other than that, no. Oh, and if you're not comfortable with Kitchener stitching, you will be Kitchener stitching the toe close. So that little number of stitches, you usually work a toe till it's down somewhere between 6 to 10 stitches. It'll just be a few stitches. So if you wanted to practice Kitchenering, you could always do it that way, or you can just avoid the Kitchenering altogether and just work it down to 4 stitches, decrease down to 4 stitches and then run the thread through and pull it and just close the toe like that. But that's pretty much it. And now the pattern does call for US 1 needles, and they suggest the pattern is needle configuration agnostic, so whatever configuration of needles you like, DPNs, long circulars, 2 short circulars. I am not a magic loop person. I can do magic loop, but I don't care for it. So what I normally do when I work socks is I will either use my flexi flips, and these are US 1 flexi flips. That's 2.25 millimeters. Or double points. And I think these might be just some nitpicks double points that I got years ago. I don't even know anymore because a couple of them, even the size has worn off. But although they don't say this, I usually work my cuffs on a smaller, one needle size smaller. So these are size zeros. That's 2 millimeters. And I will be working the cuff on the size zeros. And then I'm going to switch to my size 1 flexi flips to work the rest of the sock with. And I just find that that gives the cuff a little bit more hold because I like my socks to stay up. So if I use the same number of stitches on a slightly smaller needle, the cuff is pulled in a bit. And that helps things stay up. And flexi flips, if you haven't tried them, I think I'll make a link to my flexi flip demo video in this somewhere. It'll be somewhere. Oh gosh, I'm doing like the YouTubers do. It will be somewhere, but I don't know where. But I did do a demo on how to use them. They are essentially double points on a cord. Now the difference between this configuration and this configuration is that I'm going to use at least 4 needles to knit my cuff. 3 for the cuff to sit on in like a triangle configuration and 1 to work it with. So that's going to give me 4 needles. When I switch to the flexi flips, I'm only going to need the 3. I had a case of the dropsies today. Sorry. So I'm going to put the front half of the sock on one needle, the back half of the sock on the other needle, and I'm going to use a third needle to just work round and round and round. And I really like flexi flips. Matter of fact, I was pretty much a double point girl when I got my first pair. And matter of fact, this is actually my first set of flexi flips that I ever got. When I got these, I switched completely. I love them. What I like too is that you have a blunt end, and this is impossible to see, I think, but this is a blunt end, and the other end has a pointy tip, well, a pointier tip. So I find that I always have the right kind of tip for whatever type of yarn I'm using, just by flipping my needle over. And that's just super convenient. So if you'd like to join me, grab yourself some self-striping yarn and download the Geek Sock pattern. It's a free pattern on Knitty, and we can make some of these together. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Hey. So the next thing I want to talk to you guys about, because what's one more whip when you have 1,000 of them? But I was thinking about holiday knitting. The time is coming up faster than you think. You have Labor Day, and then all of a sudden, bam, the holiday season kicks off. So I was thinking about getting some gifting projects together. And the first one I wanted to talk to you guys about are these most adorable, are these really super cute little earbud pouches. Now, the pattern does say they're earbud pouches, but they could really be a pouch for anything. I'm thinking if I was going to gift them to fellow yarn crafters, knitters or crocheters, they would be perfect to store stitch markers in. Why not put your earbuds in them? I know mine lurk around the bottom of my bag in a tangle. I did get one set that came with its own case, but like most people, I have more than one set that lives in various bags, so I always have a pair of headphones on me. So I think this would be a wonderful little gift. The neat thing about it is the pattern is written for um, fingering to sport weight yarn, if it's a lighter sport weight yarn. But it's a simple enough pattern that if you wanted to make it in bigger yarn, it just would just not be an issue at all. And being me, I can't just leave well enough alone. I am going to make just a plain one to just, try out the pattern, see how I like it. But I'm already thinking about, oh wow, this would be an awesome blank canvas to do all kinds of fun things with. One of the things I thought about was, remember that quilt, the beekeeper's quilt, where you make all those hexie puffs, and people started making these beautiful little hexie puffs with little duplicate stitched um, pictures on them. I mean, they did everything from words to Harry Potter characters. People are still actually making the charts, and I counted the stitches on the earbud pouch, and lo and behold, it's just about the same size as a hexie puff. So any of those hexie puff charts will fit perfectly on the earbud pouch. So if you had someone who was interested in boats or planes or, Pokemon or Harry Potter or what have you, there is a chart already made that you could just plop right onto the earbud pouch or stitch marker holder. You could actually even fit one of those small tape measures in there. It could be a little holder for all kinds of things. That would be really fun. There's alphabet charts, so you can monogram them. And so I'm thinking I'm gonna go for it. Now, if you make it as an earbud holder, you don't need to do what I'm gonna do. But since I might need it for more than just, I'm gonna make one with a convertible top. So just very similar to convertible mittens. Because if I want to keep stitch markers in it, an earbud that's like kind of wrapped up and coiled up is not going to fall out, but stitch markers would actually fall out the top if it wasn't covered in some way. So I'm going to add a convertible lid to it, and I think it's going to be really, really, really cool. So stay tuned for that. I will probably have at least one sample worked up for next week because, well, not next week, but the week after next. Because I just pulled all the patterns together that I'm going to Frankenstein this thing together because I think it's going to be really, really cool. And the nice thing about that is, too, these things don't really take much yarn. So it would actually also be a stash diving project for you. Just go into your stash, get pretty much whatever yarn you have, because the only thing that will be different is that if you use worsted yarn, it will be larger if you just use the exact same number of stitches. But you could always just reduce the number of stitches and reduce everything else. I might make one in worsted just to see, so I can save you some time and tell you how many stitches you might want to do. Um, but now the author of the pattern, and I did look it up, but I can't remember right now. I'll put it in the crawl below. Said that it takes 12 to 15 yards of fingering or sport weight yarn, so I can't imagine it taking very much of any other size yarn. So this is for your smallest bits. It will be a useful little thing. You can make it as cute as you want it to be, and it will eat up those leftovers. And you could make a raft of them before the holidays came. In a totally random segue, local yarn store day is coming up, and coming up pretty quickly. It is on officially September 12th, but my store, we are celebrating local yarn store day for that entire weekend. So starting Thursday, September 10th to Thursday, September 13th, it will be local yarn store day. So what I want to do is really celebrate what makes yarn stores unique. It's true you can buy yarn online, you can buy yarn in all sorts of places, but what yarn stores do is create a community of fiber loving people. We inspire one another, we help one another, we learn from each other, we teach each other all sorts of things. And we have a lot of creative energy that we develop through yarn. So, what I thought we would do is, of course, I'm going to invite everyone who watches this podcast to Sit and Stitch. I'm going to put the Zoom link to our Sit and Stitch. It's going to happen Sunday, the 13th. That's going to be the culmination of our local yarn store day celebration. You know, I had a woman come into the store one day, and it happened to be a Sunday, so we were having Sit and Stitch. We're all in the back of the store, sitting around the table over by the window, and we were just talking and laughing and carrying on. So I got up to, welcome her to the store and say hello. And she said, "Oh, I just want to browse." So I was like, "Okay, great. Come on over. If you want to hang out with us, or if you need any help, just let me know." And I did, I went back to the group, and we were just, continuing our Sit and Stitch. And the woman was just kind of going in and out of the shelves. And I heard her say, "This is just like in the books." So it turned out she had been reading some of those yarn store mysteries, where there's a community around the yarn store, and then the murder mystery happens, and those people somehow help solve the mystery or solve the problem in the book. And that is an important part of the yarn store experience, that community. So I am going to invite you to join us on Sunday. Sit and Stitch runs from 1 to 3, and the Zoom link will be in the description bar. So that's one aspect of local yarn store day. What a lot of times happens in the yarn stores is that we also help people solve knitting and crochet problems. If you are stuck somewhere in your work, give us a call. We do what we call project clinics, and we do them virtually and in the store. So what I would encourage you to do is also look in the description bar, because I will have a link to our appointment booking, and you can book a project clinic appointment. Project clinics are 30 minutes and they cost $15. And if you tell me in the appointment system there's a space for a note, tell me exactly what the problem is or what you think the problem is, and we'll be prepared to deal with that issue. Also, we are doing shopping in the store by appointment only. Now, it's kind of, I'm going to tell you, I'm the owner of the store, and I really like it because it gives me the chance to really spend time with each customer without having to excuse myself to go work with someone else. So what I'm going to suggest you do is go on down to our appointment booking and book an appointment to either shop the store physically, and I do allow groups of up to 3. So if you did want to come with a friend, you can feel free to come. They can feel free to come along. Just let me know there's a guest coming. You will have the store to yourself. And if you just want to browse and have just, I don't know, I had a couple of friends come in this weekend, and they really just enjoyed being in the store, browsing, looking at the yarn, thinking about what project they actually had a project in mind, and thinking about, oh, well, maybe this yarn, maybe that yarn. They just had a yarn store outing, and they just had a wonderful time, and it was really fun watching them just enjoy the space. So we do in-person appointments for up to 3 people, and we also do virtual appointments. So let's say you did want to start a new project and you know, you weren't sure if the yarn you were thinking about would be appropriate for it, or you needed to find the yarn for the pattern that would work. We can help you do that virtually. We'll set up a Zoom meeting. If you book it ahead of time, I can even send you out samples of the yarn candidates. So you can give us a call. And yeah, no, I don't want to try to give you the number because knowing me, I will mix up a couple of numbers. I will put it in the crawl and I'll put it down in the description bar. I think, you know what? I think that is it for me for today. Thank you for spending some time with me. I'm going to get those socks cast on. I might do a live where I cast on. I don't know. I talk to myself a lot when I'm casting on. So I might even cut that out. I might not do the live now. But thanks for spending some time with me. Do get in touch with us. Book an appointment. We'll be happy to see you either virtually or in the store. Have a good day, everybody.